Welcome back to Fact Bloom Insights. In the humid summer of 1975, a disaster unfolded in China's Henan province that would become the deadliest dam failure in history, one whose sheer magnitude is almost impossible to grasp. The Banqiao Dam Collapse was not only a catastrophic engineering failure, but also a tragedy that claimed tens of thousands of lives, reshaped landscapes, and exposed the delicate balance between human ambition and nature's unpredictability. To understand the gravity of this disaster, let's begin with the Banqiao Dam itself. Constructed in the 1950s, Banqiao was part of an ambitious water control project designed to tame the often flooding Huai River basin. Built with Soviet engineering guidance and Chinese expertise, the dam was meant to withstand what was called a once-in-a-thousand-years flood, a phrase that would soon prove tragically ironic. Standing 118 meters tall and stretching 2,940 meters in length, Banqiao was one of several dams in the region, meant to provide both flood control and irrigation. Its reservoir held an immense volume of water with a designed capacity of 492 million cubic meters. But the summer of 1975 brought a storm unlike any before. On August 5th, Typhoon Nina made landfall, pushing inland and stalling over Henan province. In less than 24 hours, the area received over 1,060 millimeters of rain, more than the region's average annual precipitation. The rain was relentless. Rivers swelled, reservoirs filled beyond their limits, and the dams faced a test far greater than any planner had imagined. Engineers and workers at Banqiao were alarmed. They scrambled to release water, but the dam's sluice gates, designed for a lower volume, became blocked by debris. The pressure mounted. At 1:00 a.m. on August 8th, the unthinkable happened. Banqiao Dam failed catastrophically. A wall of water, estimated at 700 million cubic meters, burst through, roaring downstream at speeds up to 50 kilometers per hour. The force was that of a tsunami, sweeping away everything in its path: villages, farmlands, and lives. The collapse of Banqiao triggered a domino effect. 62 other dams in the region, weakened by the same storm and design flaws, also broke. The waves of destruction spread across the plains, transforming the landscape into a vast inland sea. Entire communities were submerged within minutes. Survivors described the flood as an unstoppable, thundering wall. One moment, life was normal. The next, homes and families were gone. The human toll was staggering. Official Chinese reports initially downplayed the numbers, but later investigations and declassified documents revealed the true scale. According to a 1995 report by the Hydrology Department of Henan Province, the Banqiao Dam disaster directly killed about 26,000 people in the initial flooding. The aftermath was even worse. The destruction of infrastructure cut off food, water, and medical supplies to millions. Epidemics and famines swept through the region, claiming an additional 145,000 lives. In total, some 171,000 people perished as a result of the dam collapse. The floodwaters covered over 12,000 square kilometers, an area larger than many cities. More than 10 million people were affected. Some 5.96 million buildings were destroyed or damaged, and over 11 million residents were evacuated or displaced. Crops were wiped out, livestock drowned, and roads, railways, and bridges disappeared beneath the deluge. The economic devastation was immense. Estimates put the loss at over 1 billion yuan, an astronomical sum in the 1970s. Why did Banqiao fail? The roots of the disaster lay in both engineering and governance. The dam's design was based on flawed assumptions about the frequency and intensity of potential floods. Political pressure to build quickly and cheaply meant that safety margins were cut. Soviet engineers advised using a thin arch design, which worked well in theory, but was less suited to the region's volatile climate. Maintenance was inadequate. Warnings from local hydrologists about possible extreme weather events were ignored. Communication failures compounded the crisis. When the storm hit, local authorities hesitated to issue evacuation orders, fearing panic and disruption. Warnings sent to higher officials were delayed or ignored. By the time the dam failed, it was too late for most people to escape. Survivors described the night as chaos, families clinging to rooftops, people swept away as they tried to flee, entire villages erased from the map. The tragedy of Banqiao was not just a story of numbers, it was a story of human suffering and resilience. In the days that followed, rescue teams waded through chest-deep water and thick mud, searching for survivors. Makeshift shelters were established, medical teams struggled to treat the wounded, and people banded together to salvage what little remained. Stories emerged of parents sacrificing themselves to save their children, neighbors helping one another, and entire communities rebuilding from scratch. Internationally, the Banqiao Dam collapse remained largely unknown for decades. The Chinese government, wary of revealing weaknesses, classified details as state secrets. Only in the 1990s did the full extent become public, shocking experts worldwide. The disaster became a case study in engineering ethics, risk management, and the perils of ignoring environmental realities. In analyzing Banqiao, several lessons emerge. First, the need for rigorous science-based design and maintenance in infrastructure projects is paramount. Shortcuts, whether driven by politics or economics, can have fatal consequences. Second, open communication and transparency are vital during emergencies. Delayed or suppressed warnings cost lives. Third, disaster preparedness must account for worst-case scenarios, not just the most likely ones. Nature is unpredictable and sometimes merciless. Human structures must respect that fact. Emotionally, the Banqiao Dam collapse evokes a profound sense of sorrow and humility. The images of vast waters swallowing villages, of families torn apart, of survivors struggling amid the ruins, remind us of the fragile line between civilization and chaos. Yet, amid the devastation, there is also hope. The courage of those who endured, the lessons learned, and the changes implemented in dam safety worldwide all speak to humanity's ability to grow from tragedy. Today, the Banqiao Dam stands rebuilt, stronger and safer. Memorials honor the victims. Engineers across China and the world study these events to prevent future disasters. But the memory of that night in August, the roar of water, the cries for help, and the silence that followed remain a solemn warning, a reminder that our greatest achievements must always be tempered by respect for the forces we seek to control. In remembering Banqiao, we honor those lost not only by recounting their story, but by striving to ensure that such a tragedy never happens again. The deadliest engineering failure in history is more than a statistic. It is a call to responsibility, vigilance, and compassion. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to follow the next videos.